say when you're ready.
Okay.
What are you, hanging a chandelier?
Not today.
Okay.
Go. Oh, I gotta start.
Already gotta edit that out.
Yeah,
Start over.
Okay.
Start
It's a
over.
wrap.
Okay, good show. Ready?
Good morning, Columbus, and welcome to another edition of Down the Garden Path. Down the Garden Path is your weekly landscape program presented to you by Greenscapes Landscape Company. Greenscapes is one of the most well-established landscape companies in Central Ohio, and we have been here for over 40 years helping everybody with a wide variety of projects. If you'd like to contact us, you can always dial the phone number 614-837-1869 or email us at info@greenscapes.net. And today we wanted to go over some trends, and we have Michael Morris as our man from the street with us. How are you, Michael?
I'm good, and I like that designation, man from the street. It makes me feel like I'm important.
Somewhat.
So let's get into this because I didn't give you these in advance because I thought it was important to get your real take on these.
Right.
These are 7 landscaping trends that you need to get in on this year. Technically, you might have missed the first 6 months, but you can still do some of these. And these aren't ones that we made up or came from a listener. This is from NALP, the National Association of Landscaping Professionals. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so this is from their list, and they talked to over 100,000 people to get this list of the top 6 or 7. So you ready?
I'm ready.
Their first one is green on green on green. Do you know what that means?
I have no idea what that means.
It means this year that the varying shades of green are the way to go. So instead of just, being a dark, rich green everywhere, you're mixing in different shades of it. Now, there's got to be a different way to say that because you guys kind of already do that.
Yes. Any good design will have some interest, and you can create interest with different shades of green, like they were saying. You can do highlight colors like maybe a little bit of purple, or
is it more of like an accenting type thing?
Some chartreuse, and also you can get varying colors with shapes of leaves. If you compare a taxus needle, which is thin and long, versus a boxwood needle, which is round and short, they could be potentially a similar color, but you're going to get a little difference on just the shape of them. So just the way the light plays off them, they'll look a little different.
That variation is that what makes certain things pop.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have like a muted color, which will make the other one kind of stick out more.
Right.
But it all kind of flows together.
Exactly. And the other times we use background colors to set off things in front. So we could pick something with maybe like a blue spruce, which has a bluish green to it, with a green plant in front or something else. So we're creating that backdrop. So the plants in front of them will show better because you're not just seeing them against a neighbor's house or some other landscape feature. You have a sort of a curtain behind to give you some consistent color.
But this isn't something, they're saying this is the trend. Is this a trend that's been going on for just recently? Or because this seems like something that would have, if I looked at my mother's magazines of good housekeeping, it seems like I would have seen that in the 80s. It didn't really die off, right? It just seems to be more of something that everyone's interested in now.
Right. It's something that any good designer should have been doing. That's a sort of a law of design, that you should create different shades and different interests. And you can do that with just some different plants and textures and color.
And that's something you guys would design. A client might not come to you with that, but is that something you would give them as an idea starter?
Yes, so we'd always bring that up, and any good project should have seasonal interest. If a client says, we want you to design our house, we want to have things that look good in the spring, look good in the summer, look good in the fall, and some things over the winter. So,
but you have a design that would do those different
times we're selective with the plants we pick. Some clients are kind of interesting where they may go to Florida for the summertime, or or they go to North Carolina.
The winter, because I don't think you go during the summer unless you really like to sweat.
We have some clients that go to North Carolina in the summertime, and then they come back here for the fall, and then they go somewhere else in the wintertime. So they could only be here during certain months. So then we adjust our design to be here when they're here.
So it looks the way they want it to look when they're actually there.
They don't, if you have something that's going to look good, in July and August, but they're in North Carolina for those times, what's the point? They want to have plants that look good while they're here.
that kind of goes into number 2. The number 2, and I can't wait to say this word. I showed it to you before, and you said I've not seen this. This is really a word. Taking the hygge outside, and it's spelled Hygge, but it's pronounced hygge.
Right.
It's a Danish concept centered around the cozy feeling in transitioning outside. So it was talking about the different levels of what you've designed based on the season.
Right.
That includes like fire pits, focal points where people kind of gather, like playing areas or whatever. You guys do that. I don't think you knew it was called the hygge. Please say hygge.
Hygge.
There you go. Now, you can go on with this. So talk about the designs you've done for that kind of outdoor living space.
Well, when I first heard about that word, I'm like, I have no idea what that means, and I don't know anything
That's why I showed
about
it to you, because I thought you would think I was making it up.
I've never run across that before. But when you read about the concepts are something that we do every day with our designs. When we work with our clients, and I can compare that pretty easily to a deck. When someone builds a deck, because it's wood, and you're not limited, but it's easier to build things out of wood and squares and rectangles. So you could just have a big, let's say a 20 by 20 deck, which is a huge open space, but it doesn't have any character to it. It's just a big deck. Now, when we do patios at Greenscapes, we try to separate out that 20 by 20 area into some more intimate spaces. So over here could be a spot for a table and your chairs, and then maybe we have a water feature that breaks off that from the fire pit, and a little sitting space over here, and then another space maybe for your grill island, or another small couch sitting area. So we take that, if it's 20 by 20, it's 400 square feet. We take that 400 square feet, and instead of having a huge patio, we try to break it up into it's kind of an odd idea, but we want it to be continuous and grouped together, but we want to create some sort of subtle separation between those use areas.
So what is a hotter feature that you've seen here locally? Not so much nationally. Is it more the fire pit or the water features? I know Bill really likes the water features, but I think that's because Bill likes the ugly boat scenario. Like, right. He likes to see those things. He likes to fish. But if I'm a homeowner, which one is the one that, whether I'm living there or it's for resale value, which one is the better deal?
The fire pit gets you a little bit better value because that you can sit around it and you can turn it on or off, and it doesn't have to be working all the time. A water feature has to be on all the time, or it becomes, a mosquito breeding ground and looks pretty gross. Smells bad, lots of algae.
There's probably more that goes wrong with it too. Right.
So you're constantly moving water, and you have to refill it because the water's going to evaporate if it ever stops raining. So the water feature takes more work to keep it going. The fire pit, one night you want to go outside, it's a nice Friday night, have a drink and turn it on, have a fire. When you're done, turn it off, walk away.
How do you protect those during the winter? So when it gets to November, December, January, I would think there'd be more upkeep on that water feature because it has water running through it. Even if you turn it off, I would think there'd be more cracks or problems with it than there would the fire pit, which you could cover.
Right. Well, the fire pit you don't have to do anything to. The water feature, you can leave them run in the wintertime, but you have to be very careful of that, because if it runs out of water, the pump can burn up. So as ice starts to form on it, it looks really cool, but you have to fill it up continuously, because if it runs out of water, then the pump's gonna burn up. Now, when you do your prep for the winter, you just you pump all the water out, take the pump out, and you just leave it go after that.
I mean, the homeowner does.
Yes.
But is that something where they could contact Greenscapes, you guys put it in, and then you'll do the maintenance on it?
Yes, we can come and help them with that.
I think that's very key to get it out there, that you can have somebody do the maintenance on it yourself, because I know I would never do that. I would forget as soon as I'm like, look how nice that is, and I would leave it run the entire time, and then when it cracks, I'd go, those people, they didn't take care of this.
Right.
Right? So I think that's key, that people need to know that it needs to be maintained.
Yes, everything needs some degree of maintenance.
The next part is upgraded outdoor kitchens. This is flowing nicely.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that.
Yes, this is very hygge. The upgraded outdoor kitchen. I think the key is that you have to have it to begin with. Okay, you have to have some method. When somebody's choosing this, what's the level of cost that goes into this?
Outdoor kitchen can be extremely expensive because we have to build it to last through the winter and make it through the elements. When people first started doing outdoor kitchens, we saw people doing it out of, pressure treated wood with some cement board, which is in your bathrooms for high humidity, and put tile or other types of sort of interior products outside. And after a few seasons, all that tile starts to pop off and it falls apart. Now we're seeing most good people at Greenscapes, we like to build them out of masonry. So we dig a full foundation and use concrete block and put stone on the outside or brick if you want a higher end look. Or you can build them out of, there's paver manufacturers who have given us retaining wall materials to build them out of. Those look real nice. They last.
You mean
a
like
long
the
time.
retaining walls you see on the freeway, like that type of material?
Well, similar to that. They're more of a residential.
But they're more of a
side.
base look. They're more of
Right.
a plain look that could probably be stained or decorated somewhere.
And now we've gotten into where we use steel framing on the inside instead of pressure treated. And you can use, basically there's cement exterior grade. If you see siding, your normal siding you have on the house, companies make that out of fiberboard, which is cement basically, that looks like wood. And I feel a lot more comfortable building them out of that because it's not going to retain moisture and fall apart like a piece of wood would.
Wood. So when somebody comes to you and they want that, what's the first step that you look at? I know you have to design it, but doesn't budget come into it first?
Yeah, it's kind of a hand in hand of budget and use. Some people just say, I would like a nice grill and a prep space and a drawer to put my outdoor stuff in. And that's, one level of something simpler, but it still is going to look really nice. It's going to last a long time. Other people that we've had, we just completed one that has a grill, a big green egg, a fridge, a sink. So it is, storage.
This person never wants to go back in their house, is what you're saying.
Or they want to spend all their time outside, and when they cook outside, they want to be able to really, they don't want to do all the prep work in their kitchen and then just take it outside to cook it. They want an outside kitchen.
What's the deal with that big green egg? I've heard of that several times.
The big green egg, anybody who has one loves it. I don't have one, so
you have no preference or no opinion on it?
I think it'd be cool, and I would like to have one. I just haven't done it yet. But it's, it's basically a smoker, and you want to heat it up, and it's thick porcelain, so it holds the heat really well, and everybody who has one just says it's the greatest thing.
But are those, and again, I've only seen them in magazines or seen them on the internet, are they fixtures that are kind of mounted into that deck or that fire pit area?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it stays?
It's in.
Okay.
So, yeah, the last one we did was built-in grill, and then part of the whole built-in kitchen, it's a big green egg, sits right there on the countertop.
Oh, so you guys have done a few of these.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Does that come up in conversation where people are like, I want your opinion on a grill or the smoker?
Mm-hmm.
I know smokers are a big deal in certain areas, but I don't know who has 6 to 8 hours to let that stuff go.
Well, it doesn't take always that long, but it's their level of interest in it. If they just want to turn the grill on, let the grill warm up and cook their food, the big green egg may not be the best choice. But if they really want to do it as an activity, then that might be a good choice for them.
But that's what I'm saying is you guys have to know that going into
right.
it.
We're going to ask them that, and we want to challenge people on what they want to make sure that as we do things and things get built that we don't have to change it. Or the worst thing is we build something and then the client say, well, I'm not completely happy with that, because they made a big investment in financially. We made a big investment in time to create a good project in the end.
The only reason I say that is we know a lot of contractors or remodelers in our walk of life, and there are some that are like, yeah, whatever you want, you can have that. If you don't ask that extra question, you can have an unhappy customer.
Right.
Because you didn't take into their lifestyle, you didn't take that into account, and you go, yeah, I'll just charge you $10,000 for that. That's fine.
Right. Yeah. That's just on the list. But we're going to ask the question. We meet with our clients at Greenscapes. We're going to ask those questions. So they know, well, I thought I wanted this. You know, we worked with a client last year, and she wanted a outdoor fireplace with a cover and everything. And you know, as we started to work through the
You
design
mean like
process,
an awning type thing?
no, it had a roof. It was a vaulted ceiling roof.
Oh, wow.
It would have been tremendous, and she loved the way it looked. But once she really started to think about it, once we did the drawings, she's like, maybe I think I like that, but am I really going to use it? And so we ended up making a bunch of changes, and we put the roof. What we really found out was she wanted to be covered more when she comes out of the back of the house. So we took the roof off of the fireplace and did a roof structure over her back door.
Does that take the place of like an enclosure, or like, I know patios used to be the biggest thing, like the screened in or glassed in patios.
Oh yeah.
I don't see that as much. I see more construction of decks or open space.
Everybody likes to be more open.
Okay.
That's a good trend.
Let's take a break right now because we've been going for 15 minutes.
It's a good spot.
Yeah.
So please stick with us, and we will be right back with Down the Garden Path.
You're doing great. So, this birds, bees, and butterflies from that. I'm skipping that.
We can talk about pollinator gardens. That's hot.
Well, it's listed here in 2 different articles. The thing is, I mean, if you're comfortable with it, I just don't know shit about it.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So we've got anything but uniform, which is pebble paths, stone planters, wood decks, that kind of stuff. I think we can go on about that. And then if you want to get into it literally is listed in the NELPI, bees, birds, and butterflies.
Pollinator gardens.
Okay, as long as you get it. I'm ready when you are.
All right. And we're back this Sunday morning on Down the Garden Path. We're glad to have you with us. Down the Garden Path is presented to you by Greenscapes Landscape Company. Greenscapes is celebrating, over 40 years in business. And
41, 41 exact.
And we hope to help you at your home here pretty soon too. And if you'd like to get a hold of us, you can always email at info@greenscapes.net or call the office at 614-837-1869. And we'd be more than happy to help you out. Today we're with Michael Morris, and we are talking about top trends for landscape in 2017, even though we're a little late.
Yeah. But they still apply. These still apply.
And they'll still apply next year too. I'm sure things don't
can
change.
Carry over. So we got through the first 3. Number 4 is anything but uniform. Various forms of hardscape materials, stone planters, wood decks, pebble paths, and mixing it up. Now, in your experience from the design build aspect, how many people come to you and have like a very formulaic view of what they want, or they have this like Rorschach test drawing and they say, I want you to make this? Because that is very anything but uniform.
Mm-hmm.
So which do you like better?
I'm a little bit more of a designer who likes a little bit more uniformity, repetition of materials, and I've done some things more interesting like that, but you have to be careful on how much stuff you have, because then it has no continuity.
Well, explain what you mean by that. I mean, I know what you're saying, but as far as continuity, because there is the way to look at it in a traditional sense, how something should look, and then there's the drab, boring. That's not what you mean.
Right. There's the 2 ends where you have let's say you have a brown house, or New Albany is a perfect example. Brick house, brick, then you do a brick landing coming out, and then you do a brick patio, then you do brick walls, and then you just have all this brick.
Yeah, when I lived there, I couldn't find my house for the first year because every house looked the same. So I had to move just so I could get to my driveway. But I know what you mean.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, the brick is interesting, but when you have too much of it, it becomes monotonous and you've lost any interest that you've tried to create. So we want to highlight that, and maybe you do a paver patio with a brick border where we're pulling the brick off of the house to the patio, but we're still introducing another similar material, but we're creating some sort of interest there. And you can go the other way where you say, okay, the house is blue, I want a red set of steps, I want a yellow patio, I want a purple walkway, and you have all these different materials and none of it matches, which my design sense is to create some sort of order. But if the client wants everything different, we'll point that out to them and say, Nothing is cohesive. Nothing matches. Everything you have is completely different.
Do you get those requests?
Oh yeah,
somebody wants that Punky Brewster look to it's all different colors, and I can't imagine. I mean, everyone's taste is different, but I can't imagine people are that thrilled when they see it or their neighbors see it.
The few that we've done, the clients have loved it. They're like, this is exactly what we want. We're glad we could provide that for you. And then everybody else is like, we saw that project you did, and why did you do that? Because it doesn't make sense to anybody else. But we're not working for anybody else. We're working for that person.
Right. So when you finish those projects, do you share those, whether it's on the Greenscapes website or any of that? Because it is so unique when you do them. It's not like everybody else that's cookie cutter. We're putting in a pool. It looks like this. Here's the path. Are those things that you share and other people go, that's an idea starter for me?
Yeah. We tell people that there's no. We talk to we work through the process at Greenscapes. I always encourage people to tell me no, because a no answer can be just as valuable as a yes answer. And it helps us get to the details of what they want. If someone says no, then we can sort of think about that and ask them another question based on that and say, is this what you want? Sort of like when you get your eyes tested.
Right.
One or two, and you just kind of go through.
Unless you're indecisive, and then you're like, I just want to tell you the answer, doc, that you want, right? So that's kind of the situation you're in. You have to be the person that delivers it, but they have to give you the information.
Right, exactly.
All right, we are almost out of time, but I know this is important because I said this during the break, and I said we could skip this, but you know about this. It's bees, birds, and butterflies, incorporating native plants that encourage pollinators, which I had not heard of before.
Right.
Explain that.
There is a movement for landscapes to not use the plants that have been bred just to bloom well. Sometimes when plants get bred for a certain trait, they lose out on some of the other more natural qualities of the plant. So we could have a plant that blooms really well, but it has no pollen. And so we want to encourage plantings that bring bees and butterflies into the landscape, because so much of our land is being removed, and we're losing those native plants that flower. So we want to try to offset that with landscape plants.
And these are popular now, or is this something I'd never heard of this until you just told me that this was a thing? But is this something, because I know the bee population, they're saying it's dying off and all that. Is that where that came from, or this has been around for a long time? People just like to look. It's
been building, and as people are getting more in tune back to the environment, it's becoming much more popular. I'm sure if you just type in pollinator garden in Google, it'll just start to blow up. We did a project in Upper Arlington. We ripped up the client's whole backyard. There's no turf back there anymore, and it is all butterflies, bees, birds, attractants. So anything to bring insects into their backyard, because the client did a lot of research and knows that when you put your bird feeder out, that's okay, but the better thing would be to have a plant that the bird can eat rather than be dependent on that bird feeder. And one thing, if you read about monarch butterflies, that the loss of the milkweed, because of where it grows, it gets sprayed a lot, it gets mowed down because it's more of a wild plant. So then there's I forget what the number is, but there's about this many square miles or something of milkweed that organizations are trying to get homeowners to plant in their yard.
I did see something about that there was some kind of incentive for you to do that, so they didn't kill them off.
Right.
But this is something, what does it look like? I mean, the theory behind it sounds great, but can you make that pop and that stand out?
Yeah, you can. You have to be careful. You have to be very selective on your plants, because most of these plants are a little bit more wild looking, so they're not going to be as, traditional and individual as you think about a front landscape. You think about every single plant is on its own little island, and together the group looks good. So these plants are usually a little bit more wild looking, but you can go through a big list and sort of help to create a nice landscape that will achieve this. It just depends on what degree do you want to do it. You
Was
wanna
it more? Let me ask you this: is it more when you build it? It's more for the function of what it's supposed to do than formulaically how it's supposed to look.
Right. It's a little bit more on the function side of getting the plants in that the birds and butterflies and bees like. And then you have to be a little bit more flexible too, if you're trying to do it on a front landscape, which we did successfully. But you may not get the colors you want because we need this plant. We want it to look a little bit more kept. So we only can get this plant in these 2 colors. So some flexibility is extremely important when you do something really particular like that.
Well, I'm glad you educated me. But when I first saw pollinator gardens, I thought I'm missing something completely. But now I understand what it is. That's going to be it for today. So why don't you wrap us up?
Well, as always, I want to thank Michael for his time and
Man on the street.
the man on the street. And so, always check out our website at greenscapes.net and Facebook page. I think we've been a little busy, so it's probably been a little slow on our posting.
Instagram's on fire though.
Instagram is easier to do, so that's usually a little bit more popular. So please call us if you have a landscape question or a project at your home that we can help you with. The number is 614-837-1869, and please tune in next week at the same time and
Same channel.
and we'll be back to help you out again.